Voice of College Football, breaking down the biggest lines of the weekend every week in college football. It's week 8, and the best way to do that, of course, is to bring in Steve Merrill from Wager Talk right here on YouTube, and you can catch him, of course, on ProSportsInfo.com. Major League Baseball playoffs, World Series coming, NFL, NBA getting underway as well. All right, Steve, great to see you.
Hey, Mark, always great to be back.
We will get right to it with no top 25 matchups, but 3 conference games that are integral to those championship races. In the ACC, Clemson, I don't know if you came across this number this week outside of the betting realm to a certain extent. Well, Clemson is an underdog in the ACC for the first time since 2014 in a regular season game in the ACC. So anyway, Clemson goes to Heinz Field, takes on Pitt as a 3.5-point dog.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this Clemson team is way down, and the question becomes, have the betting markets and the odds makers caught up to the fact that they're a much weaker team this year? Obviously, the fact that they're 0-6 against the spread, the answer is they have definitely not caught up. So now looking forward, will we start getting value with Clemson? I don't think we get value this week. My power ratings, Mark, actually favor Pittsburgh by 9.5 points in this game. So I like Pitt at -3 or less. This line is 3.5 in most spots, but there are some threes out there still. This Clemson offense just hasn't caught up, and meanwhile, the Pittsburgh offense, 48 points a game, 7 yards per play. Who would have thought that if we had a matchup here of a 20-point team against a 48-point team, it'd be this way, not the other way around, but the value's with Pittsburgh still.
Wow. Again, catch Steve on Wager Talk and Pro Sports Info. Catch us on Patreon as well. Steve's going to deliver his under-the-radar pick of the week on Patreon. You can catch my predictions there as well. All the top 25 games, plus 12-6 against the spread last week, 85-58, the win-loss margin this year. All right. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State. So this is odd for people that don't follow the lines, but just figure if you're ranked and you got a better record, you're going to be the favorite. Oklahoma State on the road at Iowa State. Iowa State dropping off the national map to a certain extent with 2 early season losses. Oklahoma State undefeated, 7-0, top 10 ranked team, a 7-point underdog on the road.
Yeah, by the way, technically, as you said, there's no top 25 matchups this week, but in the coaches poll, Clemson and Pitt are 23rd and 24th. So technically that was a top 25. It wasn't quite the way in the AP poll, which I look at more, of course. And here, once again, this isn't technically a top 25 matchup because Oklahoma State's the ranked team, yet Iowa State is the 7-point favorite. So it's definitely a game which I think is a top 25 game because not only are the odds makers saying Iowa State's the better team, even when you take out home field advantage, but my power rating sure is saying it as well. In fact, my power ratings favor Iowa State by 12 points in this game. They're currently only a 7-point home favorite. I like Iowa State in this one. It's not necessarily a play against Oklahoma State. I do think Oklahoma State's a soft 6-0 team. I know they control their own destiny here, but they will be exposed. I think they get their first loss this week. Very good defensive team. Nothing wrong with that. But offensively, they are not strong. They average just 5 yards per play against teams that allow 5.5 this season. Iowa State's given up just 4.4. Oklahoma State only 26.5 points a game. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball in this one. So the question becomes, can we trust Iowa State? They got off to that 2-2 start. Both losses, though, were tough. I mean, they played a very good Iowa team, had a 4-0 turnover deficit, and still only lost by 10 in that game, and outgained the Hawkeyes by almost 100 yards. And then, of course, the 31-29 loss to Baylor on Game 4, once again, very misleading as they had a several hundred-yard advantage in that game as well. So their 2 losses, they outgained their opponents by over 300 yards combined. And then, of course, they've looked very good the last 2 weeks against the Kansas and Kansas State schools. Put up 92 points offensively, allowed just 27. So I think Iowa State's still playing hard. I think they're an underrated team now. Oklahoma State an overrated team, and we get line value because of that. My power ratings favored the Cyclones by 12 in this one. I like Iowa State -7 or less.
Folks, we got Steve Merrill on the line from ProSportsInfo.com. Again, catch him right there for not only college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball playoffs, the NBA, college basketball starts up pretty soon as well, and also on Wager Talk TV right here on YouTube. Catch us on Patreon. You get Steve's under-the-radar selection. Let's go out to the Pac-12. The Pac-12's final hope is Oregon running the table. They go to the Rose Bowl to take on UCLA, and it's almost a pick'em game with the Bruins by 1 point in this one.
Yeah, really interesting line moves on this one, Mark. About a week ago, before there were any games even played, the advanced look-ahead line in one book I saw was going to be Oregon -3. And, of course, UCLA is currently a 1-point favorite. A lot of spots then opened at pick last Sunday when the lines opened worldwide. And we saw UCLA go up to -2 midweek. And then just the last day or so, it's come back down now to -1. So we've seen some movement on this game. I think that was a little bit of a maybe a sharp money buyback on Oregon. My power ratings, by the way, make it exactly 1. So I think this line is spot on. My power ratings favor the Bruins by 1, and the current line is UCLA -1. I think a better play in this game actually is the over. Open 57.5. It's now up to the mid-60.5 range. It's about 60.5 in most spots after opening 57.5. So we have seen a 3-point move this week to the over. Obviously, the public likes over, but the sharp money comes in during the week. So there has been some sharp money on the over in this game. I would agree with that. I think both teams can get to the 30-plus range here. They both average 33.5 and 34 respectively on the season. And we've seen what UCLA's done this year offensively. They've put up some points. Oregon is considered a good defensive team, but I think this is a little bit of a step up in class against some of the teams they've shut down this year. I like over 60.5 between Oregon and UCLA. I'd recommend staying off the side in this one. I think the line is pretty much spot on with UCLA -1.
We get the 3-pack each and every week on the 3 biggest college football games from Steve right here on our YouTube channel, The Voice of College Football. But join us on Patreon for Steve's under-the-radar selection and also my top 25 picks, 12-6 against the spread last week, 85-58 thus far this season. We'll see you on Patreon.